Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm sorry it didn't happen last night. The afternoon didn't help us, and so we couldn't have a dress rehearsal in the afternoon. We're glad you're here tonight. Usually at Brooke Valley School, we do a performance, and it's about something we're studying in history or science or geography. We often write our own plays, and or sometimes it's about some moral issue, or the kids are giving speeches on something. But tonight we're going to do a play about a story. And so it's a story Rudyard Kipling wrote in 1894, The Jungle Book, and we're taking an excerpt from that, Rikki Tikki Tavi story. And I've had to adjust it a bit. I added 2 new characters, and but it fits us. And we haven't had a long time to work at this. We did another play that we performed in Maberly, and that was kind of the end of March. And so we've, this has been a little short time for these kids, and they're very young. So I've been just absolutely thrilled with what they can produce for me. I'm going to turn it over to the narrator now, and I hope you enjoy it.
Our play is set in India. India is a country on the continent of Asia. In the 1600s, England, Spain, Portugal, and other countries moved men into India because they wanted some of the wealth from that country. England soon became dominant, and in 1773, England opened the East India Trading Company. The businessmen from England got very wealthy. They bought and sold tea, spices, salt, silk, and cotton. They built big mansions to live in India. They also hired servants. Our story takes place in the garden of one of these beautiful mansions. This is the story of the Great War that Rikki Tikki Tavi fought single-handed on the veranda. And in the garden of the big house in India, Darzi the peacock helped him. And Chuchundra, the muskrat who never comes out into the middle of the garden but always creeps around the outside, gave him advice. Bengalina, the tigress, gave him helpful wise words, and Akbar the monkey cheered him on. But Rikki Tikki did the real fighting. He was a mongoose, rather like a little cat in his fur and tail, but quite like a weasel in his head and his habits. His eyes and his restless nose were pink. He could scratch himself anywhere he pleased, with any leg, front or back, that he chose to use. He could fluff up his tail till it looked like a bottle brush, and his war cry as he scuttled through the long grass was, "Lip, tip, ticky, ticky, tick." One day the sky became dark, and the storm that rolled in was a monster. The flood washed Rikki Tikki out of his burrow where he lived with his father and mother. It sent him kicking and tumbling through the garden. When the storm ended, Rikki Tikki was lying unconscious in the hot sun on the middle of the garden path, and a small child was saying,
"Here's a dead mongoose. Let's have a funeral." No, dear, no. Let's bring him inside and dry him. Perhaps he isn't really dead.
He's not dead. He's half choked.
The family helped the little mongoose to the veranda. They wrapped him in a cozy blanket. He sneezed.
Achoo!
Now don't. Now don't.
Now don't frighten him and you'll see what he'll do.
It is the hardest thing in the world to frighten a mongoose because he is eaten up from nose to tail with curiosity. The motto of all the mongoose families is run and find out. And Rikki Tikki was a true mongoose. He looked at the blanket, decided that it was not good to eat, ran around the chairs, sat up and put his fur in order. And then he jumped onto the small girl's lap.
Don't be frightened.
Don't be frightened, Elizabeth. That's his way of making friends.
Ouch, he's tickling under my chin.
Rikki Tikki looked down between the little girl's collar and neck. Then he sniffed her ear, climbed down to the floor where he sat, rubbing his nose.
He doesn't seem like a wild animal. I suppose he's so tame because we've been kind to him.
All mongoose
All mongooses are like that. If Elizabeth doesn't try to pick him up by the tail, or try to put him in a cage, he'll run in and out of the house all day long. Let's give him something to eat.
They gave him a little piece of raw meat. Rikki Tikki liked it immensely. When it was finished, he went to the edge of the veranda and sat in the sunshine, fluffing up his fur to make it dry to the roots. Then he felt better. He spent all that day roaming through the house. He nearly drowned himself in the bathtubs, put his nose into ink on the writing desk, and burnt his nose on a candle. At nightfall, he ran into Elizabeth's room to see how kerosene lamps were lit. And when Elizabeth went to bed, Rikki Tikki climbed in too. He was a restless companion because he had to get up and investigate every noise all night long. Elizabeth's mother and father came in to say goodnight to their sleeping little daughter, and Rikki Tikki was awake on the pillow. "I don't like that," said Elizabeth's mother. "He might bite the child." "He'll do no such thing," said the father. "Elizabeth is safer with that little creature than anything else. If a snake came into her bedroom now." But Elizabeth's mother wouldn't think of anything so awful. Early the next morning, Rikki Tikki came out to breakfast on the veranda with Elizabeth. They gave him a banana and some boiled egg. Then Rikki went out to the garden to see what was to be seen.
You are new to this garden.
Yes, my name is Rikki Tikki Tavi.
My name is Akbar the monkey. Are you staying in this garden?
I like it here, but soon I must find my parents. Our burrow was flooded in the storm yesterday. I almost drowned, but some kind people rescued me right over there in this garden.
Are you staying in this garden?
I know.
I saw it all. I was clinging to that tree over there when the storm hit. It was like a roller coaster up there when the wind was blowing. But your parents got carried away by the water. The water went faster and faster until it came to a cliff. Over the cliff went your parents along with other animals.
Bangalina, the tigress gracefully stepped into the garden. She tells Rikki Tikki that many years ago she made an agreement with his mother. They agreed if one of them died, leaving an orphan baby, the other must teach that baby how to survive in the jungle.
So now it is my job to teach you how to hunt.
But I don't need to hunt for food because the kind people in that house over there feed me.
Oh, no. You have a job to do for these kind people. We live in an environment that has many, many poisonous snakes, and the job of a mongoose is to kill the poisonous snakes. In fact, mongooses are resistant to the snake venom.
Is it fun?
Is it fun? Is it fun to kill a snake?
I do not know that, but I watched your mother kill many a snake. You must be fast. Snakes are fast, but you need to be faster. One time I saw your mother chase a cobra right into its den. She was smart. She was an expert, and she could outwit any snake.
Tell me how she
attacked a snake.
Your mother would taunt the snake by darting backward and forward and from side to side. When the snake got tired of this, your mother would kill it with a swift and powerful bite at the back of the neck. Then she would walk away because she never liked the taste of snake.
I miss my mother, but I know she's happy you taught me how to hunt like she did. Thank you.
May you grow wise, strong, and powerful. Alavida.
After Bengalina disappeared into the jungle, Rikki Tikki got right to work. He had a job to do. He went scuttling up and down the garden, sniffing here and there, until he heard a very soulful voice coming from a bush. It was Darcy, the peacock bird.
What's the matter?
Yesterday one of my babies fell out of the nest and Nag ate it.
That is very sad, but I am a stranger here. Who is Nag?
Darcy only cowered down without answering, for from the thick grass came a low hiss, a horrid cold sound that made Rikki Tikki jump back. Then out of the grass rose up the head and spread hood of Nag, the big cobra. He was 3 meters from tongue to tail when he had lifted 1/3 of himself off the ground. He stayed balancing back and forth. He looked at Rikki Tikki with wicked snake eyes.
Who is Nag? I am Nag. The great god Brahm put his mark on all our snakes. When the first cobra spread his hood to keep the sun off Brahm as he slept. Look at me and be afraid.
He was afraid for a minute, but it is impossible for a mongoose to stay frightened for any length of time. And although Rikki Tikki had never met a snake before, he knew that it was the business of a mongoose to fight and kill snakes. Nag knew that too, and at the bottom of his cold heart he was afraid.
Let us talk. You eat eggs. Why should I not eat birds?
Nag was thinking to himself and watching the movement in the grass behind Rikki Tikki. He knew that mongooses in the garden meant death sooner or later for him and his family. But he wanted to get Rikki Tikki off his guard, so he dropped his head a little, put it on one side.
Let us talk. You eat eggs. Why should I not eat birds?
Behind you!
Behind you! Behind you! Look behind you!
Rikki Tikki knew better than to waste time by looking. He jumped up into the air as far as he could go, and behind him slashed the head of Nagaina, Nag's wicked wife. He bit, but did not bite long enough. He jumped of the clear whisking tail, leaving Nagaina torn and angry.
Wicked, wicked Darcy!
Rikki Tikki felt his eyes growing red hot. When a mongoose's eyes grow red, he's angry. He sat on his tail and hind legs like a little kangaroo. He looked all around and chattered with anger. Nagaina and Nag and Nagaina had disappeared into the grass. When a snake misses its stroke, it never says anything or gives any sign of what it is going to do next. Rikki Tikki did not want to follow them because he was unsure if he could manage 2 snakes at once. So he trotted off to the path near the house and sat down to think. It was a serious matter for him. If you read the old books of natural history, you would find they say when a mongoose fights a snake and happens to get bitten, he runs off to eat a certain herb that cures him. That is not true. The victory is only a matter of quickness of eye and quickness of jump. A snake strike against a mongoose's jump. Rikki Tikki knew he was a young mongoose. It made him happy to think he had just escaped a cobra strike from behind. It gave him confidence in himself. And when Elizabeth came running down the path, Rikki Tikki was ready to be patted. But just as Elizabeth was bending towards him, they noticed some movement on the path. It was a dusty brown snake whose bite was as dangerous as a cobra's. Rikki Tikki danced up to the snake with a peculiar rocking, swaying motion that he inherited from his family. If Rikki Tikki had only known he was doing a much more dangerous thing than fighting Nag. The brown snake is small and can turn so quickly, unless Rikki bit him close to the back of the head, he would get the return strike in his eye or lip. But Rikki did not know that. He rocked back and forth, looking for a good place to hold on. The snake struck out at the mongoose. Rikki jumped sideways and tried to run in, but the wicked little dusty brown's head struck within a fraction of his shoulder. He jumped completely over the snake. Elizabeth shouted to the house.
Oh, look here! Our mongoose is killing a snake!
Rikki Tikki heard the scream from Elizabeth's mother.
Stay still, Elizabeth! Stay still!
Elizabeth's father ran out with the stick. The brown snake lunged at Rikki, but Rikki was faster. He sprang into the air and dropped his head between his legs to bite the snake. Being his head, that bite paralyzed the snake. Elizabeth's father beat the snake to death. And Elizabeth looked on with big scared eyes. That night, Elizabeth insisted that Rikki sleep in her bed with her. Rikki Tikki was too well bred to bite or scratch, but as soon as Elizabeth was asleep, he went off for his nightly walk around the house. In the dark, he ran up against Chuchundra, the muskrat, creeping around the outside of the garden. Chuchundra is a broken-hearted little creature. She whimpers and blusters all night long, trying to make up her mind to run into the middle of the garden, but she never gets there.
Don't kill me, Rikki Tikki!
Do you think a snake killer kills muskrats?
Those who kill snakes get killed by snakes, and how am I supposed to know that on some dark night, Nag will mistake me for you?
That's silly. Nag lives in the garden, and I know you don't go there.
My cousin the rat said...
Told you what?
Shh! Nag is everywhere! Rikki Tikki, you should talk to my cousin.
Well, I didn't, so you must tell me. Quick, Chuchundra, or I'll bite you.
I have never had the courage to run into the middle of the garden. Shh! Listen, Rikki Tikki, my cousin said you cannot hear unless you listen. You must listen.
Rikki Tikki listened. The house was as still, but he thought he could just catch the faintest scratch in the world, and noise as faint as a wasp walking on a window pane. The dry scratch of a snake's scales against brick. He ran off to Elizabeth's bedroom, but there was nothing there. Then he ran to Elizabeth's mother's bathroom. At the bottom of the plaster wall, there was a brick pulled out to make a passageway for the dirty bath water to run into the garden. Rikki Tikki stopped there because he heard some voices outside the wall.
When the house is empty of people, he will go away. Then the garden will be our own again. Go in quietly. Remember, the big man who killed the brown snake's the first one to bite. Then come to me. Then we will hunt for Rikki Tikki together.
Are you sure there's nothing to be gained by killing the people?
Everything! When the house is empty of people, do we have any mongoose in the garden?
No.
So as long as the mansion's empty and he is gone, we are king and queen of the garden. And remember, as soon as our eggs in the melon patch hatch, which could be as soon as tomorrow, our children will need room and quiet.
I had not thought of that. I will go, but there is no need to hunt for Rikki Tikki afterward. I will kill the big man, his wife, and the child. The mansion will be empty, and Rikki Tikki will go.
Inside the wall, Rikki Tikki tingled all over with rage and hatred at this. He listened at the hole. He heard the big snake drinking at the biggest water jar.
That is good. When the brown snake was killed, the big man had his stick. He may still have his stick. But when he comes to have a bath in the morning, he will not have his stick with him. I shall wait here until he comes. Do you hear me, Nagaina? I shall wait here in the cool until daylight.
Nagaina was gone. Nag coiled himself around the water jar. He was ready for a good night's sleep. Meanwhile, Rikki slipped out of the house and sat near the big cobra. Nag was asleep, and Rikki looked at his big back, wondering which would be the best place for the death bite.
Rick, tick, 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 tick.
Rikki knew if he didn't break his back on the first jump, Nag could fight back. And that would be the end of little Rikki Tikki Tavi. He looked at the thickness of Nag's neck below his hood. That was too thick. Rikki decided he must bite the cobra when he was asleep. He must bite him above his hood, and he must not let go. Then he jumped. He bit the cobra exactly where he wanted. He locked his jaws in place. The snake whipped into a frenzy, trying to shake the mongoose off. He felt the snake's body go limp, and he knew he paralyzed it. The big man had been awake by the noise and came out with his stick to help Rikki. The big man patted him.
It's the mongoose again, Alice. The little chap has saved our lives again.
Then Elizabeth's mum came out to see what was left of Nag. The big man dragged the dead snake back into the bushes. Rikki Tikki dragged himself into Elizabeth's bedroom and spent the rest of the night shaking himself tenderly to find out if he was really broken into 40 pieces like he thought. When morning came, he was very stiff, but he was pleased that he succeeded in protecting the family. His mother would be proud of him, but Rikki Tikki knew his job was not done until Nagaina and her eggs were destroyed. Nagaina would be a much better fighter because she had eggs to protect. Without waiting for breakfast, Rikki ran into the garden. He needed to talk to Darcy. He could hear Darcy singing.
Neg is dead. Neg is dead. Does everybody know that Neg is dead? Neg is dead. Neg is dead. That Neg is dead. Neg is dead.
Darcy, stop singing. We are still not safe in the garden. Have you seen Nagaina?
She's in the forest, mourning her husband's death.
I have a plan.
Rikki Tikki raced for the melon patch. There he found 25 well-hidden eggs, but instead of shells, they were covered with skin. He could see the baby cobras curled up inside. He knew the minute they were hatched, they could each kill a man or a mongoose. He bit off the tops of the eggs as fast as he could, taking care to crush the young cobras. At last, there was only one egg left. Then he heard Darcy calling.
Rikki Tikki, come quickly! Nagaina's about to strike Elizabeth! Quickly! Quickly!
Rikki took the last egg and scuttled to the veranda. Elizabeth and her mother and father were there at breakfast, but Rikki Tikki saw they were eating nothing. They sat stone still and their faces were white. Nagaina was close to Elizabeth's chair, and she was swaying back and forth.
Daughter of the big man that killed Nag, stay still. I'm not ready yet. Keep very still, all you three. Remember, if you move, I strike. If you do not move, I strike. Oh, foolish people who killed my Nag.
Sit still, Elizabeth, sit still.
Turn around, Nagaina! Turn around and fight!
I will settle my account with you presently. Look at your friends, Rikki Tikki. They're quiet and white. They dare not move. Come a step closer and I strike.
Look at your eggs in the melon patch, Nagaina. Go and look.
Ah! Give it to me!
What price for a snake's egg? For a young cobra, for a young king cobra, the very last of your brood. The ants are eating all the others down in the melon patch.
Nagaina spun clear round, forgetting everything to save her one egg. Rikki saw Elizabeth's father take the child to safety, out of the reach of Nagaina.
Come and fight.
Come and fight, Nagaina. You shall not be a widow for long.
Give me the last of my eggs and I will go away and never come back.
You will go away to meet your husband. Fight, widow.
Nagaina, come.
Nagaina, come and dance with death.
Turn for turn and twist for twist.
Keep the measure, Nagaina.
This shall end when one is dead.
At thy pleasure, Nagaina.
Turn for turn and twist for twist.
Run and hide, thee, Nagaina.
Ha! The hooded death has missed.
Woe betide, thee, Nagaina.
As the two creatures did this death dance, Nagaina was moving closer and closer to her precious egg. Rikki Tikki, being a young mongoose, had lost himself in the dance and had forgotten the egg. Nagaina snatched up her egg and flew down the path. Rikki Tikki knew he must catch her, or the trouble will start all over again. Nagaina plunged into the hole where she and Neg used to live. Rikki Tikki had clinged onto her tail, and he was down there with her. And very few mongooses want to follow a cobra into its hole. Darcy explains to Rikki's friends that Rikki has no chance of survival underground with Nagaina. They watch. Finally, Rikki Tikki, covered in dirt, dragged himself out of the hole, leg by leg. as he dusted himself off. He sneezed,
Choo! It's all over. The widow will never come out again.
and the red ants that lived between the grass stems heard him and began to crawl down the hole. Rikki Tikki was tired, and when he got to the house, the family was there to greet him. Elizabeth loved him. That evening, Rikki Tikki Tavi ate all that was given to him. He went to Elizabeth's bed for the night. Elizabeth's mother came late at night to look at her daughter. "Oh, it's you," he said to her. "What are you bothering? For all the cobras are dead. If they weren't, I'm here." Rikki Tikki had a right to be proud of himself, but he did not grow too proud. He kept that garden as a mongoose should keep it, with a tooth a jump around, spring a bite, till never a cobra showed itself inside the walls ever again.
Wow.